It's because it becomes normalized. And number 6 is maintaining control. Those are the 6 stages of grooming. So if you look at those 6 stages of grooming, and we look at them from an individual going after a child, now let's put politics behind this. We have politicians who are demonstrating leadership, empowering our education system, which I'm saying this maybe colloquially, education system. On a mass scale, they are attacking our children. When you target the victim, you target them because you size up a child's vulnerability. But think of this for a second. A child in school is taught that you can trust your teachers. So every child in school is vulnerable. And if it wasn't for the parents who are, and this guy, Camille, who's organizing movements, how many parents are going to stand up? They're kind of watching what's next door, what's happening, and I'm going to let my child go to school, I'm not going to do anything. Well, parents are standing up. Things are happening. The point is that schools are now the ones that are the molesters, the groomers, through the teachers, through the principals, through the administrators. That's what's happening. Now the bond. You gain trust. The bond is when you gain trust and you provide your target with information, something that your target, that target is going to gain your trust. Again, another example of how teachers and principals and educators have that ability. This is no longer taking place in the shadows. This is taking place right in the open. Now filling a need. Let's talk about the trans movement for a moment. When you fill a need, what does every child, what does every person in this arena right now on Parliament Hill have? They have this little invisible sign on them that says, "Notice me, make me feel important." Everyone's got that sign, believe it or not. And what happens in the trans movement in the schools? Anybody who wants to feel important is being celebrated for engaging in depravity. So they are not achieving recognition or love or acceptance by winning something in a sport. As a matter of fact, this is why these politicians, not us, this is why these politicians are inviting men to compete against women, to destroy that institution of success. Right now, to achieve success in schools, you come out as a trans person. That's where you get your recognition. That's where the number 3 on the sexual grooming list is filling a need. That's why this is being pushed. Then access and separation, as the doctor had said, I touched on it quickly, but preventing parents. The teachers have access to our children. They remove the access from the parent by not telling the parents what day this is happening, these pride recognition days. So we're up to number 4 now. Are you seeing what I'm saying here? That right now, our school system, because of our politicians, is the #1 groomer of our children. My daughters came home with a book one day, and in the book it said, my daughters we were having dinner together, and the book said, if you are a girl and you notice that your friend who is also a girl is dressed up nicely at school, then that means you're probably a lesbian. That's what the book said. I couldn't believe it. This is about 5 or 6, this is probably watching about 8 years ago. I was shocked. We went to the school. This is back in the time when Kathleen Wynne was the Premier of Ontario. That's when this happened. And of course, we went to the school, and I wrote Kathleen Wynne, and what happened? And by the way, thank you, Howard, for pointing this out. The architect of this is he is a doctor, Benjamin Levin, who is a Liberal appointee who went to jail for having sexual relations with his own children. He is a pedophile. There are countless pictures of Dr. Benjamin Levin and Kathleen Wynne and Justin Trudeau all over the internet at political events before he went to jail, obviously. But that's the kind of crowd that the satanic parliamentarians associate with. Number 5 on the sexual grooming list. This is my mom, by the way. Yes, my mom is correct. Dr. Benjamin Levin actually wrote the school curriculum under the on the direction of the politicians. Kathleen Wynne pushed it. Number 5, this is where the actual abuse begins. This is where the surgeries take place. This is where this is where they maim our children. And we are the ones who are forced to pick up the pieces. Do you think, just think about this for a second. I'm gonna actually talk about, I'm a history nut. If you go into my library, my mother will tell you, I've got a library of history books. It'll rival some libraries that you've seen. And I'm a bookworm. Does anybody know who Adolf Eichmann is? Who's Adolf Eichmann? He was a Nazi. He was a Nazi in charge of the Final Solution. Correct. Adolf Eichmann was that. And Adolf Eichmann created what he called the Jew factory. And what this was, when the deportation of the Jews was taking place in Europe, they had taxed the Jews before leaving to the point, and it was the big joke, that when they enter through one door, they have assets, and when they leave, all of their assets are gone. And the same thing is happening in a way with our children, because when they get into school, they have their dignity. And when they get into this trans movement, they get injured, they get maimed, and this is for business purposes. And then once they are depressed, there's nothing more you can do with them. Now our government gives them MAID to exterminate them. It is not an accident that MAID and this trans movement are affecting our children. So there you go, folks. There's number 5, abuse begins. And number 6, the final one, which is the one we see the most of right now, because all the other ones we've already seen, is maintaining control. Control is maintained by pushing this agenda through the media. Nothing happens on the media without somebody paying a bill. There is no such thing anymore in mainstream or legacy media where you're receiving a message that's actually news. I'll try and be quick. The point of the story is, when COVID happened and you were walking into a grocery store and they said, wear your masks, take your shots. Somebody was paying for that message to happen. And the same thing is happening with LGBT and the rainbow and the counterfeit rainbow, by the way. There's 6 colors. God's rainbow has 7. Maintaining control is having all of this stuff pushed in our faces 24/7. And disallowing and ridiculing us for talking about it. That's how control is being maintained. So to put all this together, this is how our children are being groomed. You now recognize and understand the stages of grooming. It is absolutely undeniable that our children are being groomed by our politicians. And the only way we are going to get out of this is by voting in a political party that actually cares. And there is one in Ontario. It's called the New Blue Party of Ontario. It is primarily Christian. It is pro-life. It is pro-marriage. It is anti-SOGI. It is anti-LGBT, not anti-LGBT, but it's not teaching our children anti-LGBT. There's no LGBT being pushed in the New Blue Party of Ontario, and it's biblical. If it's in the Bible, that's our stand on it. I hope you consider us because it's an Ontario party. It deals with education, healthcare, and policing. Big guns on your side should we get in office. Thank you very much, folks. Rob Stocky, thank you.
BlueOntario.com.